Baby It's Cold Outside is like kind of weird.
What about it's red coming down.
I don't know. This is all you. You got this.
Baby, please come home. That song. Baby, please come home. No,
sing it.
I was trying to come up with a clever thing to say.
No.
I don't have it. That's the intro you guys got.
No, that's not good enough. We can do better than that.
Alex, let's talk red. There you go.
What song was that?
We're gonna talk now about lightning bolt. We're gonna talk red.
Okay, good enough. I don't know what that song
They're
is.
singing Deck the Halls.
Okay.
Christmas at all. All right, guys, that's a great intro.
Glad
you got to
countdown. This is the MMCast podcast and YouTube channel. I'm your host, Alex Kessler, here with my wonderful singing co-host, Mr. Ben Bateman.
Yes, I'm here. I'm excited to talk to you guys about cards. I promise you, if I put effort into it, I actually can sing. That wasn't it, but I promise you I can. That is something I'm working on in my life.
So for those who don't know, we are counting for audio listeners. You get to hear us figure out how to sing that song. We are doing just going through each of our colors as a Christmas thing, talking about what our favorite 5 cards in each color are. Today we are talking about red. We're talking about red. Maybe just like Shining Star in my heart recently has grown over the last few years. There's a while ago where like red was probably my least favorite color, but it's definitely gotten a lot better. This is the card of fire. This is classically the card of aggro, but Wizards has done such a good job on expanding what it means to be a red mage that it just does a lot of really cool stuff now. And I think it's really, really cool what they've been able to do with the color combo.
I would agree completely. There's a lot of sweet stuff you can do in here. As per usual, Alex picked probably cards that are a little bit more, a little bit more competitive. I picked cards that I think are fun and sweet.
Oh, no, I'm waving arm inflatable tube man for this entire. I got wackiness all the way down.
Okay, wackiness all the way down. I'm going to start out here with my number 5. This is a card you guys have heard me talk about at length. It's Thermo Alchemist, Human Shaman, 0/3, 1 red, and a colorless defender. Thermo Alchemist deals 1 damage to each opponent when you tap it. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, untap Thermo Alchemist. I just love this card. I think it's such a fun card. It's such a well-designed card in terms of its cost versus its ability. It doesn't scale out of control. But if you do have this card, if you have more than one of this card, it can be just busted bananas, insane, bonkers. I love this card. I love it. I tried to build like that dumb loam, retrace deck at one point that I was playing in Modern. It didn't work, but it relied on having 4 of these. So Thermo Alchemist, that's my number 5.
Yeah, that card is cool. They like keep printing cool cards like that. There's now a 2/1 that does it though, right? That's like slightly better. Oh, but it doesn't untap.
No, none of them untap. You have the Defender 0/4. You have Firebrand Archer, which is a 2/1 that whenever you cast a non-creature spell, pings for 1.
That's what I was thinking of.
This one is great because it untaps. So you can get multiple instances in the same turn. Well, I guess every spell, Firebrand Archer, is the same thing.
Extra one. And so instead of having a 2/1 attacker, you get to tap it for the 1 every turn, no matter what. And then if you cast spells, you can get more than that versus the Archer where you can only do damage by attacking. Yeah, that's fair. My number 5 is Bedlam Reveler.
That's a sweet card.
Can you remember what all the words on it? There's like a lot. It's
Bedlam Reveler. I've got it right here in front of me. Cool. It is red 6. It is a 3/4, I believe, devil. I'm doing this off of memory. It has prowess. And the deal with this card is that it costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard. When it enters the battlefield, discard your hand, then draw 3 cards. It's a devil horror. And the art is by Jama Jurabasi.
Cool.
There you go.
I didn't read that. Bedlam Reveler is so cool. It once again, getting cards from my hand in my graveyard. It cares about what's in my graveyard. I'm a one-trick pony on this episode, apparently. But it's a really cool threat. It's a great top end for cards. Like RIP to Mardu, Pyro.
Yeah, the 2/1 for 2. They had Spectacle for 4.
Mardu looting decks that like were able to take advantage of this. With Faithless Looting, like I think this card has definitely been hurt a lot by Faithless Looting being banned. Maybe not the most because it wasn't that high when it was banned, but it definitely has fallen out of favor because of it. But just like great with Lingering Souls, great with all these things that I like to do. Just like a really, really cool red card. And it was like one of the first times they like did something new in red that I was like, oh, I'm like taking notice. This is a really cool new space for this to play in.
Yeah, this card is so sweet. This card's one of the most fun favorite cards ever when you're trying to build any kind of a. I have all of these mediocre cards in my hand that are supposed to aid a strategy that like wants to get me to the finish line. If I have too many of them, how do I get rid of them? And it's like, play Bedlam Reveler because it refills your hand and gets rid of a bunch of chaff in your hand when you're sick of it, and it's a threat and it's really good. And if you have a deck that is full of instants and sorceries like I like to play, it's going to be cheap. It's just a card that I love. I've really been a fan of this card for a long time. Sure. Next card on my list is Boom Bust. This is a card from Time Spiral block, and it's specifically from Planar Chaos. It's a split card. So the front side of it is a sorcery, which is red 1. It is destroy target land you control and target land you don't control. And then Bust, which is the backside for, I believe, red and 5, is destroy all lands. So you get the Armageddon effect, but you also get the front half. The thing about Boom Bust back in the day, and it's a format that was fun, is you'd play this alongside Flagstones of Trocaire. You'd blow up your own land, blow up their land. You'd search your library for planes. That was a good thing you could do. It also plays well on turn 3 with fetch lands. You can target one of your own fetches and one of their lands, blow up their land, search your fetch, crack it in response to the target. You don't lose a land. It also plays well with Darksteel Citadel. You can target a Darksteel Citadel on their land. It doesn't blow it up. It's got like very cool functionality, and there are so many land-heavy decks now in Modern that are really important. For instance, even if you get like Search for Azcanted and they flip it, and all of a sudden now they have this advantage. It's like, great, well, I'm playing this Boom Bust in my deck because that's what my deck does. I'm going to take out your thing that you worked so hard to get. It's a card that I think is sweet. Always like this card a lot.
Yep. I used to, before they changed the rule with how split cards work with cascading into Bloodbraid Elf in the Boom Bust was like one of my favorite things that I've done. So definitely the good, warm spot in my heart. My number 4 is Blasphemous Act. This is less of a modern choice. This is definitely like one of the few cards that like this is a commander one, but like going through red cards, like I don't think I have a single red deck that doesn't have Blasphemous Act in it in all of the like 20 commander decks I have. Maybe Vadrock doesn't because there's no spell in there that he can't get back. But just like it's such an efficient board wipe. Like 1 mana for 13 damage to all creatures. It's probably the best board wipe in red. It might be one of the best board wipes ever printed on a when it like in the formats it's in. Like right, like it's like that and Terminus when they like are good, they're insane. Because being able to wipe the board for 1 mana is like a power play that is like normally unheard of, and also it like does really cool stuff with stuff like Boris Reckoner, right? Like that's the thing that I love doing with it.
Yeah, exactly. The Stuffy Doll, that kind of.
Yeah. Like getting to dome someone for 13 because you have like a creature that redirects it is like very choice.
How many of those are there? There's Spitmare. There's Stuffy Doll. There's Bedlam Reveler. There's the new 5-drop Goblin.
Brazen Borrower.
Brash Taunter.
Brash Taunter.
Those are the 4 that come to mind for me. Is there another one?
There is the red one, the 6-drop. Those are the ones that can direct it to. Yeah. There's like a red 6-drop that does it. There's a 2-drop Goblin that does it. There's like a bunch of random bad ones. Those are all the good ones, and they're good for different reasons, right? Because like Brash Taunter is indestructible and has the second berry. Stuffy Doll is indestructible. But Spitmare can direct it to any creature or player, right? It's like any target. Those are why those are like the ones that people remember. The other ones are like only your like opponent takes damage equal to how much damage it takes, and it's like a 1/1 for 2. There's like a few, and then there's like a bunch of other new stuff, right? The new Jareth like gets +1/+1 counters instead of doing damage, but it's like meant to play in that space.
Right. And there's that new like unicorn that any non-combat damage just puts counters on it instead.
Yeah, and then the other one, they actually printed a sword. There's an equipment from the new commander deck that has the Boros Reckoner effect, giving it to the creature that's attached to, which is cool.
That's sweet. Sweet. Cool. All right, my next card that I'm gonna go with is maybe this might be my favorite. I'm gonna go with this is more of a staple. Young Pyromancer. This is a standard, just a hitter. This is one of my like competitive cards in this category. Red 1, 2/1. It is a human shaman. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 red elemental creature token onto the battlefield. This is often thought of as the red 2-drop. They've printed lots of cards that have competed with this spot, but I think at this point we can all agree this is the one. Even though it's uncommon, it seems it's a little weird that it's uncommon, but it's definitely the red one. This is over the years seen so much play in so many decks.
I wish it was rare so much, just so this stopped being a combo. Like, just people were like, "Yep, that's the best one. We're done." It's not like this weird.
It just clearly is though, right? It's not like we're not really discussing it anymore. It's just weird that it's uncommon. But yeah, I mean, this card has been so good in so many decks. It's one of the most fun cards you can build around because it's cheap and there's so many things that it's cool with. It's cool with burn spells. It's cool with cheap resurrection spells. It's cool with cheap cantrips. It's cool with counter spells. It's getting like little blockers and 1/1s out of it is just such a convenient thing. It's one of the most enjoyable cards to play with. It really feels like you're doing a lot when you play with this card.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I mean, it's Arclight Phoenix is not on my list. It almost made it, and if it didn't end up being so beholden to Faithless Looting, which like I could make an entire top 5 cards I'm sad that aren't good anymore because Faithless Looting was banned list one day.
Yep.
Like it was like one of the, it's like it benefits you from playing good cards. Arclight Phoenix did the same thing. When I was like, Arclight Phoenix can't be good. That needs 3 spells to cast. Like, those are good cards. You're gonna cast them anyways. It's very easy to just cast 1 mana cantrips and 1 mana removal spells that trigger these things, and Young Pyromancer is that same space. My number 3, another heater, our boy KOTH, Koth of the Hammer.
Whoa, you put Koth of the Hammer on your list. Look at you.
I don't get to play it very often because the likelihood that I'm playing a mono red deck that wants Koth is low, but literally every single time I've ever done it, I've loved it. I don't think the enjoyment to play ratio is as high as with Koth for like almost most like Birthing Pod might be up there, right? Like Birthing Pod in play, I'm having a great time, but it might be one of my favorite cards ever printed. But like Koth is like so cool. It like turns your like it ramps you the turn it comes into play. It's kind of a 3 mana planeswalker. It has that Teferi effect. So you can like plus it, create a 4/4, untap your land, and then bolt something that tries attacking Koth. You can also just minus it to make a ton of mana, and then really making it for free. Like he actually can be a free planeswalker. And then obviously you have the ultimate that's really, really cool, making all of your lands mountains. He's one of the characters I'm also sad we haven't seen in 10 years. In fact, right now on Twitter, I have a post where I said, please don't kill Koth next time we see them. And then someone from WotC was like, why do you not want us to kill him? And that's extremely ominous. And I'm now really worried for him. I hope he doesn't die. Yeah, Koth is dope.
That card's really sweet. Koth is one of those cards. And it's funny because I think it's the same set, right? As Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas. They're the 2 planeswalkers from that set.
Koth was inscribed as a Mirrodin. Tezzeret was the only planeswalker in
Besiege. Okay, Besiege. They're both so similar in the sense that they come down and like because they're so specific in the kind of deck they're supposed to be in. If you don't interact with them and they're allowed to do what they're supposed to do, they're so good. They're like busted over the top planeswalkers, but because they're so specific in the type of deck they're supposed to go in, they don't see as much play as I think they could. But in both cases, you lose very quickly. Those cards take over the game inside of like 2 or 3 turns.
Yeah, I think Tezzeret is a more powerful card, partially because what it requires you to be doing is more powerful, having really good, efficient, cheap artifacts. Where what Koth wants you to do is absolutely only have mountains in your deck, and then have a lot of them in play, which is like something like if you're only playing mountains, not the easiest to accomplish. So it's kind of like a harder math problem. But when Koth is good in Scred decks, like Koth has 1 GPs, right? I don't know actually if Tezzeret has 1 a GP. Koth for sure has.
Koth is having more than 1.
A modern GP. Tezzeret I think did win a few standard GPs when because it was the answer to Jace before Cobblade was figured out. Like it had 2 weeks where people didn't realize that Sword and Feast and Famine, Stoneforge Mystic, Birds of
Squadron
Hawk, and Jace all together was just so dumb that like it ruined an entire standard format. But yeah, so I agree, that's sweet. But yeah, Koth.
My number 2, and this should be my number 1, but I know what my number 1 is Greater Gargadon. It's such a sweet card. You knew this card was going to be on my list. How could it not be? This is like in my top 3 to 5 Magic cards ever. I think it's so high. It is a 9/7 beast for red and 9 from Time Spiral. Will suspend 10. It costs 1 red to suspend it. Then when it's suspended, Sacrifice an artifact, creature, or land. Remove a time counter from Greater Gargadon. Play this ability only if Greater Gargadon is suspended. I feel like you also love this card. I feel like this is one of the most beloved cards ever printed because it's one of the most unique. I have a sack outlet that exists that's not in play. And when it's done, I get this like super sick thing into play. I get a 9/7. For 1 red, this coming down on turn 1 has always been one of my favorite plays. This was a standard powerhouse. People have definitely played this in Modern. I've built decks around this card for years. It just does so many things well.
It's Red's Viscera Seer, right? Like the 1 mana free sack outlet is something that is extremely powerful. Viscera Seer can do it forever, right? You never lose that sack outlet, so you can be a little bit more reliant on it. This gets a 9/7 into play with haste, which is extremely powerful in a different way.
Well, because also I think the thing about this card that's so cool is what suspend, the way it's worded, is that when it comes into play, you cast it without paying its casting cost, and if it's a creature, it gains haste. Means that there are some situations where if you look at what's in your hand, then you sort of negotiate the board state properly. You can hold open your counter spell. Not even that. You can like tap their blocker, remove their only blocker, sack your whole board, attack for 9, win. I've done it so many times. It's just a really unique thing to have coming.
Yeah, I think the only thing I love this card. Don't get me wrong. My only complaint with it, which is the reason it's not always on top of my list, is it doesn't go infinite. Like you can't use it to do an infinite combo, which is often with Viscera Seer. The thing you do is you do Malira with Kitchen Finks, right? That's like the end game. So you want Greater Gargadon decks that like want to take advantage of the sacrificing, but not necessarily go crazy with the sacrificing. And so it's like a weird middle ground that you have to take advantage of. My number 2, which I think you might be surprised by, is Chandra, Accolade of Flame. This is the
good Chandra?
This is the rare 3 mana M20 Chandra.
No, I know you love this card. I also love this card. This card was printed after I was playing maybe as much Modern, and I feel like I've gotten to play it a little bit more in a non-Modern context. So I don't think of it necessarily when I think of red cards that I love for Modern, but I love this card. Right. This is the 0 activation, make 2 1/1s. It has flashback, that whole thing.
Yeah, red 1 comes down, I believe, at 3. You can either 0 to put a +1 or a loyalty counter on every red planeswalker you control. You can 0 to make 2 1/1 haste elemental tokens that you sacrifice at end of turn, or you can -2 to flashback to be able to cast a spell in your graveyard that has a converted mana cost 3 or less.
It comes down at 4, which is what's so dope about it.
So you can
get the flashback twice.
Yeah. And I love this card. I mean, like we've talked about this. I have we haven't done all 3 yet, but now we're here. I have 3 different versions of Snapcaster Mage on my list. I have multiple things that like sacrificing tokens, and I have multiple things that put stuff into my graveyard and get stuff out of my graveyard. I have a vibe, and she's just right in my vibe. I literally have a commander deck built around her. I built it in Oathbreaker, and then Oathbreaker, which I actually am doing a charity. So the Saturday after New Year's, there's an Oathbreaker event that I will be participating in. That's going to be really awesome. So definitely check that out. There will be links that I'll share on Twitter. But when kind of COVID happened and Oathbreaker was not as much played, I just transferred it into a commander deck. I literally on Saturday on Mana Curves, we did a big charity stream. This is weird because we're recording that before that happened, but I'm going to release this video after that. So we did that. We gave a bunch of stuff to charity. It was really cool. This card's so sweet. I love that red Planeswalker tribal is a thing. I love that like they figured out that after white, red is the second best at like having friends.
Yeah.
Just because like love is part of the red color pie. So they're like, oh yeah, red is just like real good friends with people. They like hanging out. They're the extroverts of friendship. And I think Chandra Accolade of Flame is like, it's like that, and then Sarkon, the one that turns people into dragons. I just am never going to play Sarkon in Modern. I could play this card in Modern. Like, I could easily see me just like putting this into a Jeskai deck.
Oh yeah, finding a way to play this. I mean, the fact that it's a Planeswalker for 3 that can flash back 2 turns in a row, just even that alone is worthwhile. Right. It's just super worthwhile.
And like the 2 tokens are not nothing to laugh at, right? Like you get the 1/1s like are a threat. And speaking of Greater Gargadon, speaking of Viscera Seer, and speaking of like even things that trigger off of creature death, like a Blood Artist, like you sacrifice them. So you get those triggers off of their deaths, which is really cool as well. So you can do cool stuff with them.
Oh, this needs to go into Jury.
Yeah.
This is for sure.
Yeah.
I can't believe this is not in Jury. This 100% should be in Jury.
That was like the standard deck, right? Like the reason Cat got banned is because Cat plus Oven plus Chandra plus Croxa plus Mayhem Devil was too much. Like all those those 5 cards together were just like enough of a shell that you didn't have to work to do powerful things. And the Cat combo on Arena was just like miserable to play against. So they got
miserable, so my last card on my list, and I'm wondering if it's your your last card, is the card Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, that's the best card in red, and the red, like it might be the most perfect Magic card ever printed.
Yeah, if this wasn't your number one and my number one, I'd be shocked. It's endlessly sweet. It's so sweet to play. I have so many of them. I have like 13 revised copies. I have all different editions. I have signed copies. I have an unlimited copy. I don't have a beta copy like Michael has. I had all the cool promos. I sold all my foil promos. I think I might have kept one just because I love it so much. I think I did. I think I kept one just because I love it so much. But it's the best card. I mean, we've talked about Lightning Bolt for 6 years at length. I don't think we need to talk about it too much.
It's not the best card ever printed. It's in competition for that. But it is absolutely maybe the most perfect card ever printed. I can't think of another card that's more well-rounded, versatile, viscerally cool. The whole thing. I love it all. Everything it does.
We might even do as a Christmas special, as a holiday special. It might happen after, because we talked about this on an episode recently. We might even do the top 25 Magic cards, or whatever that list was going to be of all time. This is which would be a lot of fun.
That's what this kind of is. This is the Christmas special.
Well, this is our favorite cards of the month. I'm talking about Christmas best cards all time.
Maybe it'll be a New Year's special.
I don't know, Alex. Get off my corner here.
Yep.
But yes, and if we do, I'll bet you Lightning Bolt makes that top 25. It's got to, has to.
Now, why red? What about red draws you to the color as a player?
So Lightning Bolt and its ilk, that's what draws me to red. And I love burn. I love targeted burn. I love it. I'm such a fan of targeted burn. I love red stapled onto other cards as the targeted burn that then makes the draw spell better, like Fire Ice. But I also love that red has become the flashback creature, flashback color. I think it's really cool that they have started to lean into red having that ability, with Past in Flames and with obviously this card. Like red's gotten a lot more stuff like this.
What do you know? What's the 2-mana Dreadhorde Arcanist?
Yeah, Dreadhorde Arcanist and what's the 5-mana goblin that gets to flashback a 4-mana spell?
Yep.
Goblin Dark Dwellers.
Dark Dwellers.
Like there's a lot of cards now in red that do that, and I think it's great. It kind of makes sense. Blue getting the access to that ability again is great, but it's almost too easy for blue. It's like red has to work harder to make that good.
Yeah, no, I think red is just more and more becoming my favorite color in Magic. I think like if you were to sit me down and say you had to pick one, I think I'm close to red just being my favorite. It's impulsive. It does really cool stuff. It wasn't for a while because I didn't like attacking. I don't like aggro. I hate aggro. So when it was that was what red did. It was burn decks. I was not on board. But as red has become much more of using your hand as a resource, discarding, impulse drawing, removal spell control, interacting with the graveyard as much as it does. I've fallen more and more in love with the color combo. And then not to mention it's artifact kind of interactions as well, right? The goblin engineer, goblin
welder,
goblin welder, or Duretti, or even Dockside Extortionist, right? All of these are just such cool cards that I've just consistently really liked the color. I think it's really, really cool.
I would agree completely. I think that last point you mentioned is really sound. The artifact interaction is really cool. It's one of the best parts.
And that is it for this episode. We want to hear what you guys think. Please comment below. Please like below. Please subscribe. All those things. Audio listeners, hopefully this isn't annoying, or hopefully Marshall is cutting this out of the audio, or only leaving these in the videos. And please let us know if your audio is on Twitter. I'm at Kes Wiley. That's the best way to reach me. Ben is at Ben Media. The podcast is at the MMCast. And then of course, please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/the MMCast. It is how we're doing this. If you want us to keep doing these single episode, mini-sodes throughout the week as a video format, while we do the video format, the podcast in the classic style, it is going to have increased costs in the long run. So if we can get you guys' help, if you like this format, we'd love to see You guys, the Patreon has a bunch of cool stuff you get for $5. You get access to the raw feed, which has an extra bonus piece of 10 to 20 minutes worth of content every week at the very beginning. So you can just listen to that and then go to the videos later. Plus, we like, you know, and we love to hear feedback on ways we can make it more enticing. So please comment below or check that out. We'd love to hear from you. And yeah, there's an airplane.
And
thank you.
This has been a production of Time Traveler Media, sending podcasts into the future.